name is Kiwi. That is what you can call me. Or you can call me Kreepy if you really want to. I didn't pick the name by accident. Um, anyways, how's everybody doing? Welcome to the channel. You probably noticed that there's not a lot on it. And that's kind of the point of this whole video, is for me to introduce myself, my plans for the channel, and my art. So I guess I'm just going to jump right into it and thank you for coming and listening to this. Um, I greatly appreciate it. I'm just going to get started with talking about the plans for the channel. So, one, I'm definitely going to improve my audio. I don't know how you think it is. I think it could be better, and that's fine. I'm currently borrowing a headset, and that's never fun. So, it's nice. I appreciate it, but I would like my own. So, it is on the way where you have figured it out. It's going to be okay. So, that's plan number one, fix the audio, and we've already done it. And that's great. We're in the green. So, plan number two, the content. That's the important part, right? So, basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a subject matter. So, for example, my first subject matter I've picked is vampire hunting kits. So, I've done a lot of research and I wrote a script and I have all the fun info that I could find personally about vampire hunting kits. And what I'm going to do is record and draw a relevant picture. So I'm drawing a picture of a vampire hunter and I'm doing that via live streaming, basically. So I'm going to stream on YouTube my process, and while I'm doing that, we could just like chit chat and yap and hang out, and everything could just be chill. And I'm going to keep that up and available for anybody who wants to go back and look at it or watch it. It's just going to be available. But basically, once I get done with the piece, I'm going to take it, compile it, and edit it much like what I've edited here. And I'm going to speak more informatively about the subject. So I'm going to read the script. I'm going to probably go off of the script, but I'm going to talk more informatively. You know, it's gonna be a little more structured, and it's still gonna be fun. But you know what I mean. So that's kind of how it's gonna look for now. Is me drawing one via live stream chit chat chill, the other edited script, all the information, me telling you the thing. So that's what the plan is for the channel. Um, so I guess I can get into talking about me a little bit as an artist and as a person. So I grew up in the rural South. I grew up out in the woods, in the swamp, and like most places, not just rural or the South or anything like that, but like anywhere, there's folklore and stories and stuff that gets told around the campfire, you know, and stuff your grandparents passed down, and that's kind of what I'm interested in. I grew up around a lot of ghost stories. My grandparents had a haunted house. I grew up in a haunted house. I was that kid, you know, that was always ghosts, 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 dead people, dead people, dead people. So that was me. And I you can imagine how popular I was, like so popular. Anyway, anyway, I don't care. So yeah, I was a weird kid, talked about dead people at school all the time and about creepy stuff, and that's fine. Like I found people eventually that had stuff in common with me and been lifelong friends, and that's great. And it's I want to find more. Basically, I know there's more people out there, and I love chit chatting about it. I love hearing stories. I have plenty of ghost stories myself, and it's just bled into my adult life as well. And it's just I've never been able to get over it. You know, it's just I love eerie, I love the creepy, I love folklore, I love learning, I love talking with people about it. I mean, I used to sell art out of this one cafe, and during Christmas time, there was a Santa there to take pictures with the children and everything. And before he got started, me and him got talking about my art, and I talked about ghost stories with Santa. I had Santa telling me ghost stories, and that was a goal I didn't even know I had. It was like a dream that I could have never even dreamt. It was amazing. So cool. Loved it to death. But so speaking of me growing up in the woods, this is my grandparents' house, not the ones that had the haunted house. That was on my dad's side. This is on my mother's side. So my maternal grandparents had this house and they had built it out of a barn. And it's not just shaped like a barn. It was a barn, and they didn't ask the county. They didn't ask for permits. They didn't do none of that. They just built a house inside this barn, And my uncles lived really close to it. All of our family lived down this one dirt road, and there was just miles of swamp and woods in every direction, and I loved it. I grew up hearing about, people finding graves, like old graveyards in the woods, that not fresh graves that were done by murderers, but like a forgotten graveyard in the woods, or swinging lanterns on the railroad tracks nearby. And oh my god, okay, a little tangent, but I had actually, as an adult, seen the lantern lights on the railroad tracks. And I was flabbergasted because I knew the science behind it. I don't know if you guys know the science, and don't quote me, I'm not a scientist, but from what I can recall, it's like micro vibrations or something that has to do with, like, there's a very small electrical current inside the railroad itself. And then if the conditions with the atmosphere, is right, like the humidity and stuff, it creates like an orb of light that swings back and forth like a lantern. And I was an adult, and I was out there on the railroad track with my friends and looked and watched this thing manifest. I was like, is that a firefly? And it grew bigger and bigger, and it was a light, and it was swinging like a lantern. It looked like a lantern. And we were just gripping each other in fear. I'm like, that looks like a lantern. I know it's not a lantern. That looks like a lantern. And they're like, that really looks like a lantern. Maybe it was. Maybe it was a ghost. Who knows? I'll let y'all be the judge of that. Maybe I have to draw or animate what I saw one day and let y'all tell me if I'm gaslighting myself into thinking there's a scientific reason behind it. But anyways, just tons of stories like that. I love them. So excited to talk about them more. But anyways, so um that's kind of the type of horror I like. I'm not really a gore girly. Nothing wrong with that. Like, nothing wrong with people who are into that type of stuff, or like body horror or cosmic horror, any of those things. Like, those things are cool, but I'm more into like folk horror and ghost story stuff. And I love vampires and werewolves and unicorns and dragons. Okay, I know that's not folk horror, but you know what I mean? I feel like it's all a certain flavor, and those are my flavors. And everything else is fine, of course, but that's the stuff I like to see. Like, I don't want to watch Terrifier. I want to hear about that time that you woke up and there was a dude standing at the end of your bed and you blinked and he disappeared. That's what I want to hear. That's what I'm here for. So, end user. This painting right here, I'm gonna talk about it a little bit because there's kind of a reason I picked this one. So I had actually painted this physically, like traditionally with acrylic, um, and when I was trying to think of basically it was like the perfect fit for the first thing that I drew and that I talked about on the channel, because it's very personal to me. Like, not only does it kind of show the area and the environment in which I grew up in, and it's just part of my outlook too, I guess, is basically this house in this state. When I did this painting, my grandparents had both passed and nobody lived in the house anymore, and the house was basically beyond repair. It was so infested with mold and structural issues that there was just nothing that anybody could do. And I was standing at the end of my uncle's deck and looking out, and it was just unlike anything I'd ever seen. It was a shell of what it was. It was empty and it was cold. It was almost like a tombstone. It was just there was no life there. And it was just unorganic and man-made and empty and hard and cold, and there was just the woods wrapped around it, and so much life. Like, I could hear, things moving about, and I could hear crickets and bugs and toads and frogs and stuff. And then behind me, the rest of my family is sitting around the campfire laughing and having fun and warm. And I was just standing there, kind of like putting out my feelers, I guess, energy wise, to just feel. And it was just this vast emptiness that I felt from it. And it was, I don't know if I still felt sad, as much as I did feel sadness, but it was like that type of sadness where it's like longing for something that doesn't exist. Like, I can never have that back. It's not like, oh, I'm craving chocolate, let me go get some. It's like there's no gaining that back, and that's just the nature of things. Is just time passes and it goes on, and people die and stuff falls apart, and one day this is all just going to hurtle into the sun. And it is what it is. But I was having like an existential crisis in front of this thing, is basically what I'm trying to say. But I was kind of looking at the ghost of my childhood, like it was just like there was a tire swing that used to hang on that tree to the right that is dry rotted and gone. And like that that window to the right, that was the kitchen window, that 5 pane window, that was the kitchen window. And I remember there'd be nights that we would glance over there and see, if the light was on, because if the light was on, that meant grandma was up. If it wasn't on, that means she went to bed and we can't go over there. And in the mornings we would want to go over there, talk to her, to have hot chocolate and to steal oatmeal cream pies and watch Touched by an Angel. And we'd glance out there and see if the light was on. If the light was on, cool. If it wasn't, we had to wait, and we had to go play out in the field or something, or play in the ditch until she woke up. And it was just, I was just doing the same thing kind of, but I just knew that light was never coming back on. But or even just stories of don't play on the railroad tracks, stuff like that led me to like, because there's lights and there's ghosts and you'll get your legs cut off by a train and da 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 da, but normal stuff, normal railroad track stories. But and just so many memories that formed me and my interest, and stuff that I want to connect with other people about, because I know I'm not the only one who, values these things and experience stuff like this. And I'm just interested in hearing it. I just have a fascination with this subject matter, and I just want to hear it. I just want to hear it. And I want to share it, and I want to talk about it. I want to yap about it, and I want to, dissect it, and just stand there in quiet awe at it as well, like I did with this, of just kind of in some weird admiration of it. But I mean, there was also this one time right there on that porch, so I didn't really capture it really well in this drawing. But on that porch on the left side, like basically there's all those pillars on the porch right there, they're actually tree trunks, and they had like the knots from the trees on it and stuff. That was like my favorite thing as a kid. But anyways, I was all the way to the left. My grandma was sitting there, and she had a bird in her hand. And I remember as a kid, I ran up like, holy crap, a bird. And I scared it off. And she kind of told me, that sentiment of, if you grasp something like too hard, too quick, you can kill it. Like if you hold on to something so tight, you can strangle it. Versus like if you like be gentle with it, it will want to be there with you. Like if you're patient and gentle and respect its little boundaries, it will want to be there. I know it's very stereotypical kind of sentiment, everybody's heard it, in some way, shape, or form. But as a kid, I was like, oh my god, grandma's dropping some serious Snow White hillbilly knowledge on me right now. But it was formative. But that's why I think this painting was kind of so important. It really illustrates me as an artist, and who I am as a person, and my roots, and the stuff I'm interested in talking about, and all kinds of other fun stuff. I guess like it just wraps it all up into a pretty little package with a nice little bow on it, and it really expresses, just shows you, I think, a good preview of me as a person and what I plan to talk about and put on the channel. I know vampire hunting kits are very far off from a barn in the woods, but I think it's fun. I think it's creepy. I think it's spooky. I want to talk about it. And really, if you stayed this long and listened to me yapping about, I really appreciate it. Like I'm so excited to talk. I know it's just a matter of time before anybody, one person, shows up and wants to talk with me about this, and I'm just so excited to meet that person. I'm so excited to hear the stories, and I'm so excited, the chance that there might be somebody out there that wants to hear me talk about this stuff. It's just exciting to think about. I really want to know if like y'all's experience with stuff like this, especially if you grew up out in the woods, like what kind of stories were you told about the railroad tracks? Have you seen the lights on the railroad tracks? Have you had this weird opportunity to view your childhood in this weird ghostly way? How was that? I know that's a heavy question, but it's what I'm here talking about, I guess. Starting off real heavy with the channel, but that's fine. It's not too bad. I'm fine, and I love it, and that's what's important, and I have fun talking about it, so that's great. But anyways, so that's me, and that's what the channel is going to be. That's my plans. Um, of course, the video, the podcast, not the podcast, Jesus, the live streams will probably be more like this, while the edited versions will be a lot cleaner than this and less rambly. But this is a nice quaint in between, I think. But hi, nice to meet you. Like I said, my name is Kiwi. Remember to stay hydrated. That's really important. Take your medicine if you can, and most importantly, never moon a werewolf.